You don't think that we have more cartel violence coming from these immigrants rather than white Americans?
You're right, correct. That is what I think.
We're here at the No Kings protest down in northern Colorado. We're going to do some interviews, see why people are out here, and do a little trolling. So, wow, let's get into this. All right, so we're here with a gentleman at this protest tonight. Just wanted to see what this sign means, what you're out here supporting. Yeah.
All right, well, we don't have kings. We haven't since 1776. We've got someone who's trying to be a king. Let's not have that. He's got a secret police called ICE. We don't need that. We got rid of those. We had a big to-do about that in the 1940s. And they need to stop murdering people. I think it's pretty clear.
Okay, and what makes you feel that Donald Trump is trying to become a king? What has he done that says that? Or, what is the vibe you're getting from him?
Well, ignoring the judicial branch, ignoring the legislation. He is making mandates. He's declaring war without Congress. He basically ignores all of our checks and balances.
Okay. And when would you say he's ignored our legislative and judicial branches?
Every day.
Do you have an example here?
The war we're in right now.
Okay. And what's your opinion on the war on a general scale?
Well, I think that as a country, we should know more about what's going on, and the president should not be benefiting from it directly.
Okay. Would you be in favor with a war in Iran in general, or is it this one specifically? Is it because Donald Trump's the one doing it?
I know that there are problems with Iran, and I think that if he goes through the proper channels, he does it the right way. He's insisting on people immigrate the right way. I think we should hold him to a higher standard in the same way.
And what's your view on illegal immigration? Why do you want to get rid of ICE?
I don't care about illegal immigration. What I do care about is thugs running around beating people up. They're not actually working towards getting rid of immigration. What they're really doing is they are intimidating the populace so that we don't feel comfortable coming out and protesting.
How would you personally feel comfortable solving the immigration problem if you want to move away from this enforcement?
Let them in. We need people. Our population pyramid is upside down. We're going to have severe problems with people not picking our food and not cleaning our houses, all the rest of the things. Our population is declining and we need immigrants. So, the fact is people are just asking for those people to be punished. That's not about immigration at all. There are plenty of prisons that are privately paid for-profit prisons. That's what it's really about.
Well, when a great deal of these immigrants coming in are creating violence and they are taking away jobs from our people's nation, do you not find that maybe we need to take a step back from this? We need to bring back our own nation's culture?
I would ask you to prove any of those statements and you would not find it possible. None of those are true. I don't even need to address them. They're not taking our jobs. They are people who are out doing jobs that Americans are not willing to do. They're less violent than typical Americans are, statistically. Nothing you said there was just true.
Well, the average white American commits significantly less crimes than any other group of people.
Absolutely wrong. Completely wrong. Look at the statistics. Do your research. You're wrong. Our own government says that.
You don't think that we have more cartel violence coming from these immigrants rather than white Americans?
You're right, correct. That is what I think. We are shipping plenty of weapons down there, and we are basically the problem that they have, and we're supporting that. We're not doing anything about immigration here. We're not doing anything about crime here. If you look at where ICE is deployed, it's not where there's a lot of crime. It's where there are blue states.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your time.
Good luck.
Thank you. Great, we're here with another gentleman. Very interesting sign here. Wanted to see what he has to say with it, so the floor is all yours.
Just want to be able to support. I don't want Trump as a president anymore. I'm just sick and tired of what he's doing to our country, and he's a crybaby. That's about it. I don't know. I mean, I support immigrants. I don't support what he's doing with the rich. And how the rich are taking away our rights every single day. So.
Okay. I'm not a Trump supporter myself either, but I'm very curious to see what is the answer to this. How do we move away from politicians like Trump into somebody who represents the people?
We need to talk about maybe a maximum wage instead of minimum wage. Jesse Ventura once said that, and I believe that's the fundamental answer right there. There's nobody works hard enough to be a millionaire, make $1 million a day, or be even a billionaire. So I think we need to address that. Start at the top and work our way down, and then lock up all the pedophiles. I mean, plain and simple, lock them all up. I don't care who they are, red or blue. Lock them all up.
Any politicians you support for the upcoming 2026, 2028 elections that you think could fill it better?
Man, I don't. Right now, it's tough to say. There's so many out there, but I mean, anybody that supports Bernie or likes Bernie Sanders' work, I'm a huge supporter of Bernie. So,
what about Bernie do you find so likable?
He actually works for the people. He's not taking corporate PAC money. There's a lot of things I like about Bernie. He's a down-to-earth human being. So, I think he's great for what America wants. He's a genuine picture of what America should be.
Great. That's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Have a great day, man.
You as well.
Thank you.
We're here with another group of gentlemen here. They're here actually fighting against the No Kings protest going on. I'd love to hear why you guys are out here today.
We were looking for our friends. We couldn't find them.
Yeah?
Yeah, they didn't show up.
First, let's make clear there was no fighting.
I didn't mean it.
I'm sure you didn't. But we were just walking through. We had a lady, the only thing really, and it wasn't that big of a deal, except she put an air horn up to our ears, about 3 inches from our ears. So, and then she said we punched her in the face, which we have many people that saw it happen, and we didn't. But we think things are better in our country under Trump. He is not a king in any way, shape, or form, and people that live on a diet of MSNBC and CNN, they need to get outside of their bubble because they are being fed baloney and they are so misinformed, it's not even funny. So we believe that things are better under Trump despite some of the things that are happening. None of us like war, both sides. But sometimes war is necessary because if you ever fought against a bully, you got to stand up to him at some point, and then everything's fine. And that's what we had to do in Iran. Nobody likes that we're in there, right or left. We like the idea that our world is going to be a safer place, though, without their influence.
So is your question about the problem with the police, or is it about why we're here?
It was about why you're here, yeah.
Well, in 1776, we started a revolution because we didn't want kings. And we don't have kings. We have a president who is looking out the best for our country. And what we've missed in this country is dialogue between them and us. And the dialogue that we just got was all hate. And there's no walking across the street. It's horrible, and and this is what we've lost in America, is to able to communicate with each other. It's right or left, period.
You're probably too young to remember a time in our country where you could live next door to somebody of the opposite political party and you could have a civil conversation. But today it's nearly impossible because of the division that's been sown in our country that started back.
Well, media. It's all media.
Well, it's media, but it's also some of our leadership we had with Obama and Biden and some of the people that have sowed division in our lives, and that's part of the problem. We can't even talk to each other anymore without being assaulted.
Yeah.
It's really a shame that if you just go down and take the temperature of those people, you will see it, or if you have any conversation with them, they would much rather you and I and all of us Americans have problems and financial problems or whatever than Trump to have any success whatsoever. And it's a shame that is what that it comes down to on their side, because don't we all want to be better off? It's just, but they would rather us pay a price than Trump have any success.
I would also like, just say there was some nice people down there that
Very
smiled
nice.
and waved and weren't
And we had some
disrespectful.
we
and
had
so,
some people from the other side that actually walked with us and protected us. So it was really great.
it was nice, yeah.
So
Love to see that. I do want to ask you guys, obviously Trump supporters, if there's one thing you could change about Trump's presidency, what would it be?
I wish he wasn't such a.
say it. Go ahead. And I got the counterpoint.
It's all me. I. If he would take that out of his vocabulary and use us and we, everybody would like him better. But he comes across as somewhat of a egomaniac, to say the least.
You have a counterpoint?
Yeah, the reason that he's quick to speak, first of all, he's very transparent. We don't have that in politics. Very transparent. Secondly, if he didn't do it himself and gave an interview, that interview can be twisted by, all kinds of ways by 95% of the media outlets out there. It's unfair. Our media has let us down, as Mike said a minute ago, that the problem is he says it so that they don't have a chance to twist it.
And I wouldn't change anything with him, because the simple fact is we're all broken. We all have our faults, and Trump is no different than the rest of us. And his is just more public than the rest of us. So I guarantee you I can find something on you right now.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
I challenge those people to look at their 401ks. If they think that he's doing a poor job, look at their 401ks.
Well, I appreciate your guys' time today. You have a great rest of your day.
Hey, you're not going to edit that and then put all the other, like the media does, are you?
No.
Okay, good.
I want to hear real. We got a gentleman standing out on his porch. He's got the MAGA hat on, looking out at these protesters. So, why are you out here today?
It's people talk about freedom of speech, and I feel like it's important. If they're just gonna spread, if they want to have importance on what they want, I feel like we should be able to share our same, perspective on freedom of speech. Speaking of they're speaking against the government. How one person's a pedophile, but they're not really open to what anything else really.
For sure. So I've heard a lot of perspectives today on, why people don't like Trump, don't like what's going on. I want to hear what is good about the guy. Why is he a good president?
So far he's.
What's that? I can't understand what you're saying, brother.
I don't know what he said.
Some people, man. Some people.
But he's helped get rid of a dictator that when people like this would go in Iran, they would kill them all because Iran hates protests, killing innocent people, no reason, no cause. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Trump told them to, he gave him a grace period. You need to stop killing innocent people, and he didn't. And so, I feel like it's good to get rid of dictators. If they're for the wrong purpose, they kind of have it where the guy never can get opposed on a larger scale in the government.
Okay. I do want to ask as well, obviously you're a big Trump guy, but if there's one thing you could change about him and change about his presidency, what would it be?
Let's see. I feel like one thing is how he says a lot of things, and I don't agree with everything. Calling people names. That I feel like that's one thing when you're doing anything in politics. Calling people names kind of backfires on you. Like with his post about the post when he won about joking about being a king. It kind of backfired on him with just unrest with people. Honestly, I would just say saying too many things without thinking about what the consequences could be.
For sure, man. Well, I appreciate you being out here today. I appreciate you doing this interview. You have a good one.
You too.
We're here with another gentleman at this protest. I just wanted to ask you why you're here.
I think I'm here to participate in the No Kings rally, just solidarity and support for the people who are, suffering right now in their communities. I think it's important to show people that you care about what's happening to them around your society. You can't just sit back and let stuff happen, because that's apathy is the enemy of progress, and we all want to make progress in wherever we want to go. It's important, I think. And that's why I'm here.
And what changes would you like to see? What is going on that's causing you to be here, and how do we get rid of that?
I think there's too much, anger in politics and stuff. I want a gentler hand guiding the future, and people not being reactionary with their policies. And a lot of people, I want to see them actually make decisions on changing the future, not going back to the past, essentially.
What decisions would you make to change the future?
Divesting from supporting Israeli infrastructure. I think they get more than enough money that they should be able to support themselves on their own. That's my big one. I also think we should be, more restrictions on law enforcement, so they aren't hurting people in our communities and taking them places where they don't know where they are and stuff. And supporting more local infrastructure with the money that we are sending overseas, essentially in our own local communities. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with your whole infrastructure ideas. I do want to ask you back on that law enforcement spot. It's important that we have good cops. We are protecting our cities, taking care of our laws. What have you seen that makes you want to change the system?
I think just cops, the government says, oh, ICE has unlimited authority, or they have immunity. I think that's okay. That's not great. That's terrible, actually. I think we should hold law enforcement to a higher standard than they are being held. They're supposed to be the best of us, and currently I don't think any of them are the best of us. They're supposed to protect the community, but right now they're protecting the owners of the capital and stuff, and that's the biggest problem. They should be protecting the civilians, not the corporate interests.
I'm curious, what would you consider yourself politically? You've talked a lot about corporate interests, investing.
Anarchist.
Radical and anarchist.
I don't like systems of authority, but I'm not trying to burn the system down. I think we should build up unity and solidarity with local ground groups using grassroots methods.
When you say anarchy, does that mean that you would prefer more of local nation states, or do you want
Not
to keep them?
necessarily local nation states, but not necessarily countries altogether. Just people working in their own. I'm anti-state, actually, just in general. I think there should be just local communities doing what benefits them the best, not borders, essentially carving up huge chunks of land that cut through generational ethnic groups, essentially. Borders are unnatural. That's my opinion on things.
Don't borders protect the community, though? I understand what you're saying. You want it to be more local. But in general, if we completely tear down the nation as a whole and go into these smaller local areas, we are putting everybody at risk to the nations who choose not to do that.
I think that's an important question that needs to be asked. How would we do this? I think it's not a day one thing where it all happens all at once. It'd be a growing process. You can't just do it all at once, because then things would fall apart. You still need society to function. It would be a decades-long process that multiple generations would take part in. Because, I agree with you, we should keep people safe, but I think borders are part of the reason people are unsafe. How many civil wars happened because of borders, essentially, across the entire planet? The North and South Korea, that's one of the most hostile borders on the planet, because there's a border there. They're not a unified Korea.
But if they didn't have a border there, these people don't really like each other on each side. Don't you think there would be violence from the people themselves on each side of that border if we weren't able to prevent one from taking over the other?
That's an important question that begets itself. I think it's part of massive groups of people that would work together from all over the world. like we should be part of building progress towards future is unity. And I think like more people from different countries that have borders have more in common with each other than like the ruling class essentially. Like the average American has more in common with the average Iranian than we do with our politicians. So I think that solidarity is the most important thing. You would build solidarity first and then you would start to I think Germany was better unified than it was split down the middle essentially.
So you believe people are more unified than class than culture, essentially?
Yeah, I think there's more of a classal unity. I think I don't know the right word. There's more of a unity between classes than there is like cultures and stuff, and I think that's a distinction that we need to talk about more.
Just one last question. I do want to see where you stand on this. If you do believe that we are more unified by class than culture, why do you think historically there have been so many cultural wars?
I think it's part of a distraction process that the rich and powerful use to engage, and so they can do the stuff they want while people are fighting about useless uh, topics like gender, race, sexuality, religion. I think people have more in common with each other than they do with the rich people, and it's the same thing because like if a rich person can get two people that to hate each other that have more in common, he can take the money from both of them without them even noticing. Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president, once said, "If you can get the lowest white man to think he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice that you're picking his pockets, and he'll even let you. He'll even give you access to his pockets." So I think building solidarity with local communities and intersectionality is the most important thing across nations.
Do you believe in bordering off these local communities any way?
No, I don't think borders should exist at all. But I think like you can't just get away with them like in one day. There's a process there. It's all about slow processes, building towards a better future.
Great. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for the interview, MK Ultra.
I'm back at home now, obviously, and now that I'm back here and off of the streets, I wanted to take a moment to conclude this video and wrap it up with a conversation with all of you about everything that I wasn't able to get to while I was out in the field doing those interviews. First of all, I wanted to talk about the belief of the political divide and the inability of parties to have conversations across the two different sides. And I totally understand where it's coming from. It is getting more and more dangerous. There's more and more aggression being built into every single one of these conversations. That doesn't mean it's impossible, though. I went out there as a far right individual, and I was able to have great conversations with people on the opposing parties. I had conversations that really didn't feel aggressive. I do think it's really important that we are willing to go out there and speak to people who don't agree with us today. It shows humanity. It shows that we care more than just those around us, but our nation as a whole. It's not about who agrees with us, but we care about people because they are our siblings in Christ. We care about people because they are of this nation and of our people. I will say on that, though, it's not going to be all flowers and roses, right? It's not perfect. I was able to go out there and have such good, peaceful conversations majorly because I think a lot of the people I spoke to viewed me coming up to them as a young liberal guy trying to broadcast what they wanted at this No Kings protest. Obviously, that's not what I am, and you guys know that. But during the conversations I had, you watched them all. Very few of them I ever got too aggressive, and pretty much all of them I would ask them what their views are and ask them to expand on them. Instead of trying to debate them by bringing in my own opinion to it, I instead let them explain themselves, and something I noticed is many of them can't, and I think that's a stronger debate on our side that I don't have to go out there and argue with their points, but I can instead go out and just ask them, go on that. Where do you get that from? Why do you feel that way? And many times, the logic behind it just ends up crumbling down because there isn't a lot of logic behind it. But a big reason why I was able to stay so peaceful was because that was the approach I took. I wasn't going for the aggressive approach. I wasn't going to debate them. I was going to genuinely hear their ideas and maybe push them on those ideas a little bit more, but not necessarily to attack them on anything. But something that wasn't caught much on camera, and a little bit in the first interview, when people would start to realize that I was a conservative guy, nobody ever noticed that I was far right, I don't believe, but as they noticed that I was conservative, you could feel the vibe of the conversation changing. You could feel that it was becoming more hostile very quickly. It felt less so that we were trying to understand each other, and instead it was just attacks and insults. First guy, great conversation, pretty respectful throughout. But you can definitely see the vibe change on the camera actually throughout the interview as he realizes that I'm coming at him through a more conservative point, and you can feel the hostility rise. But I will say on that, he seemed like a decent guy. We did have a good conversation, though I strongly disagree with some of what he said. Good conversation. Nothing against him at all. The second interview, wow, wow. I can say really, really calm interview throughout. I never really had anything to push him on. Didn't think there was anything that needed expansion. And because of that, it just stayed very calm, very peaceful. Nothing too exciting happened. But off camera, pretty much as soon as the interview ends, he tries to find my YouTube channel, realizes that I'm a conservative guy, immediately attacks. Not like violent or any way, but in a hostile wordage, I'll say, and he had a buddy join in. It became just a game of throwing insults, nothing really being said, a refusal to hear us out in any way. He seemed to become very angry with us very quickly. And again, nothing violent in any way. It wasn't aggressive in a physical sense, but you could feel the vibe change, and you could see that there was no longer communication going on between us. And so while I say political discourse is still possible, it's only possible when you are willing to not show everything that you have in your hand right at the beginning. You kind of have to lead your way into it and present it from a place where you want to get to know them. That's how you get people to like you a little bit more, and that's just good life advice in general. You have to genuinely try to get to know somebody because that's how you show that you actually care about them. And from that point, you may be able to build onto that into something more discourse, maybe a little bit more debatey on both sides. But no, it goes both ways. It's a complicated issue, and political discourse, it is dangerous. There are a lot of issues with it, and our nation is becoming more divided. But again, something I want all of you to take away from this, we can still talk to each other. You don't have to, in any way, avoid this. You don't have to be avoidant of it. You don't have to keep everything in your back pocket. If you go out looking for a good conversation, you can find it. Another thing that I wanted to take note of was I noticed a really big difference between each group that I talked to. For one side, we have the MAGA people that you saw, the conservative groups, those four older gentlemen, that one younger guy. Those were all of the conservatives, at least open conservatives, that I saw that day. Every single one I saw, I went up and I approached, and both groups were very willing for an interview. I found them to be pretty well spoken. The older guys were great, great people, I gotta say. I think they were my favorite people I met that day. Really, really good, down to earth group of dudes. While I may disagree on MAGA specifically, I'm sure there's a great deal that we would have in common and would agree upon. I have my issues with Trump, but I get it. The boomer conservatives, those are your types, but really, really good, genuine, down to earth guys. And they seemed to know what they were talking about and had a genuine reason to believe what they did. I can get behind that. I can understand it, even if I don't necessarily agree with it. Something that kind of surprised me about all the liberal groups. I attempted to get interviews with a great deal of people that day. You watched every single one that actually agreed to it. A lot of people were very, I got a lot of like weird looks from people, a lot of just, what are you doing? Like, they were not interested at all. And I understand it. You don't want to be on camera. You don't want to have a microphone shoved into your face. You don't know where this video is going to. You don't want to be edited, made to look stupid. and I understand it, but it's harder for me to rationalize when we're speaking on this. Sorry, a pop-up came up. But it's harder for me to rationalize how you're going to go to one of these protests and just not have anything you want to share with the world. I don't care who wants my opinion. If I'm putting myself out there, I want to share it. I feel like that's the point you're going to these protests for. You want to share your opinion. Then again, I get it, but I did think it was interesting. Both groups of conservatives were very willing to speak and to share their ideas. A lot of the liberal groups, not only were they unwilling, many of those who did, it felt like they didn't actually have a good basis of what they were trying to accomplish by being there. I tried to understand what made them feel Donald Trump was a king. Didn't really feel like I got that out of anybody. It was mostly just unhappiness about the system, which, again, something I can relate to and totally understand. But this unhappiness, it didn't really stem from something easily communicated, I guess. It was their unhappiness with the system was just kind of put on Trump instead of the whole association in general. That's something I try to bring up, actually. First interview, I talked to the guy with the Iran war. Would you possibly be in favor of it if it wasn't Donald Trump? And his answer actually becomes, I may be in favor of it. I understand Iran's doing a great deal of things. While I feel like a lot of the conservatives on the other side, they recognize they don't want a war with Iran because of how it harms America. It's not our business necessarily. Israel don't want to be in bed with them. We don't want to sacrifice American men for Israel, don't want to sacrifice money for Israel. While for him, it seemed like, at least from the perspective I got, it was I don't like Trump or anything he does, and that's why I'm against this. That was certainly a vibe I got from a lot of people there. Instead of directed anger towards parts of our system, it was just all put onto Trump, and it's a complete lack of realization that it's not just Trump, it's everybody. It doesn't matter the party. It might be a Democrat, might be a Republican. Majority of our politicians are bought out for other countries. I just didn't get the vibe that many of them understood that. And I tried to ask leading questions for them to get there, and it just wasn't seemingly something that they had thought of. It was just mostly in anger with Trump. Finally, to close all of this out, I'd like to talk about how crazy some of these ideas were. No, we have the first guy. You saw the very first clip of the video and then the whole interview. A belief that white men are creating the more violence than anybody else. The most violent group are white men. Really? I mean, maybe by number, but per capita data does not say that at all. White people are some of the least violent people you can be around. There's a reason why he chooses to be in northern Colorado. It's a white area. And this isn't me trying to be racist. This is simply me saying white people are typically less violent. Does that mean all brown people are violent? No. Does this mean all black people are violent? Of course not. But white people, by average, are less violent. You are less likely to get uh, jumped. There are a lot of things I can't say on YouTube. I was about to say. Sorry about that. Pause. But you aren't probably going to just get jumped and beat up in Colorado as you are in Chirac over there, good old Chicago. There's a lot more danger in these areas that are less white, and I don't understand where he could be coming from on that. That's just a complete refusal to learn reality. You have another gentleman who spoke about anarchy, and I can't rationalize how you can get to the point where you see that as a legitimate form of governance and the belief that we have we can do away with borders in general because it's class unity, not cultural unity. Yeah, go tell the Slavs that there's no cultural unity there. It's all class. I have this really great idea. Why don't we unite the Balkans into Yugoslavia? I bet that would work out greatly because they don't need borders over there. That's just dividing them. It's making them harder to, or excuse me, it's making them easier to conquer by dividing them. No, no, the culture matters. It matters a great deal, and without a firm, united culture, the people fall quickly. So I don't understand how you get to that point. And that was actually something I noticed throughout a great deal of these interviews. It's a lack of care for cultural unity. Bouncing back to the first individual, he spoke on, excuse me, he spoke on that we should let them all in and that the border is it's unnecessary. We need to let them all in because our population pyramid, it's not looking good. It's not a pyramid anymore, I'll tell you that. But instead of encouraging young people to have more kids, the encouragement becomes let's let all the illegal immigrants in. Well, that destroys your culture. That destroys your people's unity, something that they can relate to, something that they can build upon and become a greater people through it. Now, that's a big key takeaway I want you to get from this is many of our opposition, they don't believe in your culture. They don't believe in you as a people. They don't believe there is anything uniting us beyond our economic standpoint, and it feels soulless, really. There's no soul in the in economics. Economics, it's a heartless business. It's heartless. It truly is. It's all about monetary gain, and when you focus on economics so much, it's hard to humanize each other. And that's not something that I want in my nation. Instead, I want strong cultural unity. I think that people are happier when they are around people that they can truly understand. So, culture is a really big thing. We are fighting for it. And the reason we have to fight for it is because the people in the opposition, they don't believe in it at all. They don't want our culture. They want to destroy our culture. Maybe because it's a culture that they don't fit into. Maybe it's because it forces them to a higher standard that they don't want to live up to. Maybe it's because they were taught for the last half century that our culture is evil, that it is resulting in violence, that it is undeserved. It all comes from white guilt, really, is what I believe we see with a lot of these people, and it's unfortunate. So we need to fight more for our culture because they don't believe in it. And that's, again, massive takeaway. I am going to wrap this video up here. It's getting a little long. But I appreciate all of you staying to this point. Please like, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to try to do more in the field work in the future. Let me know how you liked it in the comments. If there's anything you felt I missed, go ahead, let me know. Love to hear it. Thank you very much, and God bless y'all.